today. All right. So on that note, let's go ahead with today's class. Paradise Lost, Book 1, Part 3. Again, I'm saying it has 5 parts around Book 1. So it will get finished by this Wednesday. And then we are moving ahead to Book 2 and subsequently. All right. Okay. It's okay. Thanks, Prithvi. Okay. Hi, Jyotirmay. Good afternoon. All right, let's move ahead. Okay, so moving ahead to these lines. First, Moloch, horrid king, be smeared with blood of human sacrifice, and then it comes to his temple right against the temple of God. Now, in these lines, again, just marking over here from book 1, Milton describes the false gods Moloch and Chemos. Okay, so as we know that according to Bible, there's only one God. All the other gods that they everybody that they used to say that it is only one God that you got to worship, no idols to be worshipped, they are false gods, they are basically Satan. So however, Moloch and Chemos, ye false gods the, critiquing their cruel and immoral practices, whatever practices they had. Moloch is portrayed as a horrific idol. Okay, a very horrific looking idol and associated with human sacrifices. All right, so this is not animal sacrifices, but human sacrifices. That's like brutal murder, where children were burned alive as offerings while their parents' cries were drowned out by the loud noise of drums and timbrels. And this is so even horrid to imagine that they were the ones. This is human sacrifices hota tha. Okay, so worshipped by the Ammonites. Just a second. So, worshipped by the Ammonites in regions like Rabbah, the plains near the Arnon River. Moloch's influence even extended to King Solomon, who, despite his renowned wisdom, was deceived into building a temple for this idol near the temple of God. So, ये basically दिखा रहे थे किस तरह से he is again, sharing the knowledge that he has, and apart from that, whatever false gods were there, how there was idol worship, how it was the idol worship associated with paganism is associated with Satan and not the real God. That is what he's trying to say. Or that opprobrious hill and made his grove the pleasant valley of Hinnon, and then goes to Sibma clad with vines and Eliel to the asphaltic pool. This site is a symbol of idolatry, as in यहाँ पे बहुत idol worship होती है. Okay, became known as Tophet and Gehenna, terms later used to symbolize hell. All right, so यहाँ पे जहाँ पे बहुत false gods की worship होती है, idols की worship होती है, so Milton कहता है कि उनको they were basically Tophet and Gehenna, and they were symbolized with hell. Okay, similarly, Chemos, the god of the Moabites, the false gods, is described as an obscene and dreadful deity. Pathetic looking deity. He's absolutely horrid looking. Worshipped across Moabite lands like Aror, Nebo, Heshbon, and Sibma, areas known for their fertile vineyards and proximity to the asphaltic pool. Milton uses these figures to symbolize the corruption and sin that arise from idolatry. In a way, Paradise Lost is very didactic, very preachy. He is constantly, Milton is trying to emphasize upon the idea that if you are doing idol worship, then discontinue it, because that is basically on the side of the Satan. All right, and what you're supposed to do is worship only one God, and that is God. Okay, so showing how even great leaders like Solomon could be misled. So he's like that, a lot of people could be made astray on over this idea. Some people think that because everybody is following it, so people think that this is the right thing, you got to do it, you have to do it because everyone is doing it. But what the God's word, as Milton is saying, Bible constantly says that it is only one God that you have to worship and no other idols. And he draws parallels between these practices and the eternal damnation of hell. Eternal damnation of hell. The sequence of details. Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Epic conventions, the ideas which perpetuate in many literary texts, epics, and especially see literary epic का ही मतलब है कि आप एक किसी भी चीज को इतना ग्रैंड कर दो. Epic is like absolute grand style, grand writing, जो आप metaphors use कर रहे हो, जो comparison similes या comparisons या you're using any figure symbolisms use कर रहे हो. It's a very very grand and epic conventions is of course a very important thing. पैराडाइज लॉस्ट से जिस तरह के क्वेश्चंस आए हैं, दे आर कवरिंग दिस एंटायर लाइक बुक 4. या कभी इस तरह का क्वेश्चन नहीं आया दैट टॉक अबाउट लाइक पर्टिकुलर पार्ट. सो आई एम जस्ट टेलिंग यू गाइस कि इतना इसको समझो, याद करो, नाम याद कर लो कि गुड टू राइट इन कंटेंट एज इन अपने आंसर में, लेकिन वी डू नॉट हैव टू मग इट line by line. Okay, paradise is humongous, so we can't expect that a question like this will come ki talk about Moab, this these gods, these false gods. The question can come that talk about that, comment on how idol worship has been condemned in paradise lost. ये question आ सकता है, but not a particular section से कि मतलब Moabites के बारे में comment करो, no. So इसके लिए there are topics that we will be going ahead keeping under, and we'll be moving and looking at those aspects. ठीक है, जैसे idol worship पे आएगा, of course these are the examples that we'll be taking. Right? Okay. Because ऐसे बहुत है. अभी you will come across, Satan की team पूरी आती है, उसके नाम, उनके ideas, some things that you got to really remember कि किसका क्या idea था. सबने कुछ ना कुछ idea दिया है. लेकिन उसका मतलब ये नहीं कि that, we have to mug it up. Understand, always understand Paradise Lost. It's a really beautiful epic work. Now, peer on his other name when he entice से लेकर आता and works of love or enmity fulfill. In these lines of Paradise Lost, Milton describes the corrupting influence of another false god. अभी false gods के बारे में बात हो रही है, ये topic पूरे false gods के बारे में. Peor, another name for Baal Peor. Peor enticed the Israelites at Sittim, a place on their journey from Egypt to the promised land. By the way, Israel and Jews are, they were one of the most blessed races. That is what Bible says. That is what Quran says. कि इन लोगों को God had gifted them with special powers. Powers as in not supernatural powers, but great intellect and, good looks. In every which way, this land, Israel was absolutely blessed. Jews were completely blessed. They're one of the oldest races, Jews, Judaism. However, so as it is said that, all the messengers of God, Prophet Moses was their prophet who had introduced Judaism to them, who said that there's only one God that you got to worship. The God blessed them with everything. That's there in Bible. Is it blurred? Okay. Is it good now? Okay. So over here, again, now that after a while, this race started disobeying God, or something happened, as in God got upset with them and he cursed them. He just gave them some sort of curses and all. I mean, I do not know how true these stories are or how much of truth, their substance is there. But, Israel has always been a land of conflict, and Jews have always been, always at the top. They are so less in number, and see the Holocaust that happened, then the recent war that happened. So Jews have, and of course we know that, how much they control the world. So this is again a kind of a reference that has been there. Israel and Jews have been referred so many times in not one like Bible or in like only one religious text, but in many religious texts. So I'm sure there is something behind this entire race. Okay, anyway, so journey from Egypt to the promised land. So pure the entire Israelites. So यहाँ पे Israelites बहुत अच्छे थे, Jews बड़े अच्छे थे, लेकिन false god pure ने उनको entice कर दिया. बोले नहीं नहीं मुझको worship करो, वो नहीं मुझको worship करो, false god. And they got into engaging in wanton rites or immoral lustful act. That is what Israelites did. Which brought suffering and divine punishment upon them. So this is actually a biblical story. This is a Quranic story that कि बड़ा blessed थे Jews, लेकिन उनको curse किया गया था because of their immoral and lustful acts. His influence expanded to the hill of scandal near the grove of Moloch, symbolizing the intertwined vices of lust and hatred. These idolatrous practices continued until King Josiah, a biblical reformer, banished such worship and destroyed these idols, metaphorically sending them to hell. Ultimately, kind of a, you can say, किंग जोसिया ही केम द रूलर एंड उसने फिर बंद किया था तो ये जाके कहीं बंद हुआ था अदरवाइज दे इंडल्ज्ड इनटू सच काइंड ऑफ एक्टिविटीज सो मिल्टन देन शिफ्ट्स फोकस दैट इज द सेम जो सेक्शन था वही आ रहा है यहाँ पे मिल्टन देन फोकसेस टू अदर फॉल्स डेटीज सो यहाँ पे अगेन फॉल्स गॉड्स के बारे में बात हो रही है कलेक्टिवली नोन एज बोलेम मेल गॉड्स एंड अष्टारोट फीमेल गॉड्स वर्शिप फ्रॉम यूफ्रेट्स टू द बॉर्डरलैंड्स ऑफ इजिप्ट एंड सीरिया अब ये पूरी बेल्ट बता रहा है कि ये सब लोग फॉल्स गॉड्स को वर्शिप करते थे एंड दिस वाज देयर years of back जब ये सारे monotheistic religions नहीं आए थे of course there was complete idol worship he highlights the nature of these fallen spirits so these false gods उनके बारे में बात करता है emphasizing their ability to assume either male or female forms or even both at will so sometimes they were male or female or they were both so these were the false gods that people used to worship. Unlike humans, these spirits lack physical bodies made of bones or flesh and exist in a pure ethereal essence free from the limitations of physical form. So इनके जो spirits होते हैं, they do not usually have physical form, but they are just spirits. They can appear in any shape, whether bright or dark. So because they have Satan के team से हैं, false gods हैं, so they can change their shape to carry out their purposes, whether acts of love or hostility, as per whatever suits them at that time. So these false gods, this description underscores the deceptive and fluid nature of these false gods, these spirits, these idols, making them powerful agents of corruption and temptation. Milton uses their ability to change form as a metaphor for their capacity to mislead humanity into sin. अब now imagine, अब ये जो है, ये टेक्स्ट जब ये लोग इंडिया लाए थे मतलब पैराडाइज लॉस भी पढ़ाया जाता था जब वेस्टर्न एजुकेशन आया था इंग्लिश एजुकेशन आया था इंडिया में दिस मस्ट हैव बीन यूज्ड एज अ क्रिश्चियनाइजिंग मिशन क्योंकि जो पूरा चल रहा था वहां पे when they had come of course they wanted to Christianize India as much as जो missionaries होते थे वो लोग आते थे and one of the most तो कितने conversions हुए होंगे because idol worship is through and through condemned over here it is kind of so bad so Paradise Lost also could be seen as a very strong political tool in order to enhance the missionary system that was expanding through and through the globe. So this is a very important element also that that how was Paradise Lost treated? This would come out to be a very wonderful question. And yes, it's like the idea of that God eventually evolved into the form of the monotheistic Abraham God. We see today the history of these things. Very fascinating, intriguing, and you want to get it's very curious if you get into the depth of it. It is the revelations come out to be very startling, and it's not easy to totally. But over here, now that written, because it has been written in 1667, a period where the British expansion was happening across India. 1599, 1600 में East India Company got established on the Indian soil. It was a completely commercial. Government से कोई लेना देना नहीं था. धीरे धीरे जब इनका expansion हुआ, resources इन लोग ने लेने लगे, फिर ये missionaries जाने लगे इधर उधर अपना mission करने के लिए. So these kind of texts must have played a very pivotal role in imparting not education but an ideology. That see what you are doing is not right, follow this, convert into Christianity. Okay, so these are the elements that are it should be used. How Paradise Lost could be used as a colonization tool because it is there. Yeah, exactly, and it was there in the course because मेरा PhD इसी पे है मतलब मेरा PhD I've talked about the entire canon formation. So when I was reading Gauri Vishwanathan एक Mask of Conquest text है उसने उसने बात की है वेस्टर्न एज, बहुत अच्छा टेक्स्ट है गौरी विश्वनाथन का. आई हैव द बुक जस्ट राइट इन फ्रंट ऑफ मी कोइंसिडेंटली. ये this is the book, and it actually talks about that, how books like Paradise Lost, they were used. I can totally quote it from here. Coincidence है कि book सामने ही रखी हुई थी. Just a second, let me see कि अगर इसमें कुछ है, because these are all very intriguing ideas. And the Paradise Lost के बारे में index में नहीं है, but I'm sure, because I remember reading from here that how these texts, how the syllabus that was carved was just not to impart Western education, but to perpetuate an ideology, to for the missionary education system to enhance, for the Christianizing uh, ideology to perpetuate. So these all what, and this is a very interesting text, convincing, very convincing enough. So he highlights the nature of these fallen spirits, emphasizing the ability to assume either male or female forms, or even both at will. Unlike humans, these spirits lack physical bodies, as हम लोग ने बात कर लिया था. So they can appear in any shape, fluid, and Milton uses the ability to change form as a metaphor. All right, let's next moving ahead. Now, for those of the race of Israel, or forsook से लेकर आता है Ezekiel saw when by the vision led. Now, Milton laments how the Israelites, okay, बड़ी blessed race थी Israel, अभी भी देखो इतना सा है, but क्या तूफान मचा के रखा है पूरी दुनिया में. And they were actually blessed. Every text, every religious text talks about these ideas कि किस तरह से इसको Israelis were blessed. So Milton laments how the Israelis often abandoned their devotion. Blessed थे लेकिन तभी भी उन्होंने abandon कर दिया अपना devotion. They completely left it to the one true God. So true God को मानना बंद कर दिया, leaving his altar neglected and turning instead to the worship of false bestial gods. और one God को खत्म करके जो bestial false gods थे उनको worship करने लगे Israelites. ये बड़ा बुरा किया. And this is the reason God got upset with them. कि तुम लोगों को बोला था कि बस मुझको worship करना, तुम लोग सारे false gods को worship कर रहे हो. So this betrayal led to their downfall. The God cursed them कि Jews will suffer a lot. Okay, this betrayal led to their downfall in battle, where they were defeated and humiliated by otherwise insignificant enemies, a punishment for their idolatry. Among these false gods were Astoret, also known as Astarte to the Phoenicians, revered as the queen of heaven and symbolized by crescent horns. Sidonian maidens worshipped her by moonlight, singing and offering vows. Her influence extended even to Jerusalem, where her temple was built on a hill by King Solomon. Although Solomon was known for his wisdom and a large heart, he was led astray by his foreign wives who introduced him to idolatrous practices. Always the wives are the one to introduce something bad. Here also, that's the same thing. Anyway, so this goes on that how Milton is talking about कि false gods पे worship करने लगे these Israelites. All right. इस वजह से उनको कर्स मिला, एंड वी वर आल्सो टॉट ऑल दीज थिंग्स. देखो एंटीसेमिटिज्म कितना है, अब कितना था, अभी भी है, और ये कितने सालों से चलता आ रहा है. सो जूस के खिलाफ तो मतलब बाइबल में भी बहुत कुछ लिखा हुआ है. एंड दिस इज द रीजन, यू रिमेंबर दिस, यू ऑल मस्ट हैव रेड दिस वर्क, Shakespeare's what that Merchant of Venice. Okay, इसमें शाइलॉक कैरेक्टर है, शाइलॉक जू है. ओके, ये पढ़ा होगा, I'm sure ICSC CBSE बोर्ड में है, मर्चेंट ऑफ वेनिस है. तो ये मर्चेंट ऑफ वेनिस में जू है, और जो शाइलॉक है, और बहुत स्टिंजी, बहुत करप्ट, बहुत गंदा, बहुत ही पैसे वाला, लेकिन बहुत ही बुरा दिखाया गया उसको. तो जूस को हमेशा से बहुत ही गंदी लाइट में दिखाया गया है. एंड इट इज काइंड ऑफ सेड कि ये लोग कर्स्ड है, they are cursed, they are blessed, but they are cursed. Okay, but honestly, I feel that in today's time, the world is being ruled by this Israel, right? Let's go ahead. Moving ahead. Following Astoreth is Tammuz, a deity associated with fertility, seasonal cycles. Tammuz myth, अब एक और false god है, involves his annual death and resurrection, symbolized by a wound he suffers each year in Lebanon. This event inspired Syrian women to mourn him with songs of lamentation during summer, as they believed his blood colored the river Adonis, a reference to the red hue caused by natural sediments. Okay, so this happened that, again is talking about the false god. These rituals of grief and passion influenced the women of Jerusalem, whose acts of idolatry were observed by the prophet Ezekiel. Okay, so prophet Ezekiel bhi ek prophet the, because there have been many prophets across 1 lakh plus prophets and all since the inception of human race. So prophet Ezekiel ने बोला था कि एक ही गॉड को वर्शिप करना है, किसी को नहीं. लेकिन ये women fertility वाले idol को worship करने लगे, and that was something that upset God deeply. Is this so? In a divine vision, Ezekiel was shown how the people of Judah alienated from their God. अब दिखाया जा रहा है कि Jews को again ये in a way anti-Semitism को maybe थोड़ा सा advocate कर रहा है कि सही है, Jews को जो इतना सब लोग Jews से नफरत करते हैं बिल्कुल सही है भाई, because वो deserve करते हैं, उन्होंने God को छोड़ के idols को मारने लगे. So alienated from their God had succumbed to these dark foreign rituals, which should not have been done. Why? Because idol worship, foreign rituals not allowed, right? So Milton uses these examples to emphasize the corrupting power of idolatry, which seduced even the chosen people into spiritual and moral decay. Now you look at this text. Itna strong condemnation of idol worship. If this is taught to naive minds of the colonized people, especially in a place like India, wherein idol worship is a religion. अगर ये सिखाया जाए to those naive minds wherein the colonizers, the people whom these native minds look up to, वो आए, वो सिखाएं, वो बताएं. Can you see how the perpetuation of ideologies happen? All right, so this is a very crucial text to be written, and maybe this could have been a very strong. This must have been used to carry on the mission. Now we have. Next came on who mourned in earnest when the captive ark till his odious offerings and adore the gods whom he had vanquished. Milton continues his catalogue of false gods. Okay, this section is all about false gods, focusing first on Dagon, the Philistine deity. Dagon is now depicted as a grotesque sea monster. Okay, very ugly, grotesque sea monster, horrid looking, half man and half fish, worshipped in cities like Azotus, Gath, Ascalon, Akron, Gaza, territories of the ancient Philistines. Milton references the biblical story from 1 Samuel 5, in which the Ark of the Covenant, after being captured by the Philistine, is placed in Dagon's temple. So can you see the reference? Very strong biblical reference that everything that he's mentioning is there in the Bible. Not that he's making it up. It's a literary epic. So this is the classical learning that he has putting, the biblical knowledge that he's infusing in his text. As in, these are all legitimate. As in, they have been archived, they have been documented, whatever he's trying to convey. The next morning, Dagon's statue is found fallen before the ark with its head and hands severed. This moment of divine retribution shamed his worshippers. For God though is omnipotent and omnipresent, and he cannot die, right? But इस sea monster को dead देखा, तो लोगों ने बोला ये क्या है? How humiliating for this false god. So this moment of divine retribution shamed his worshippers and symbolized the futility of idolatry, as the false god was powerless before the true God of Israel. लेकिन इजराइल ने तो बहुत लेट समझा कि एक ही गॉड को वर्शिप करना है, वो लोग false gods को वर्शिप करते हैं. When you get into the religious aspect of all these things are absolutely, so mind-boggling, and there have been this fight on one god and idol worship has been there since ever and ever. So again, Milton emphasizing upon it, taking Jews as the example and as the victims of how they succumbed to this ideology of idol worship, leaving the true God. He's repeatedly saying and emphasizing aloud. Following Dagon is Rimmon, a deity that is worshipped in Damascus. Okay, so अब false deities के बारे में बात हो रही है. The capital of Syria, near the fertile banks of the river Abana and Farfar. Rimmon is associated with storm and thunder, and Milton portrays him as an opponent of the Hebrew god. So again, false god. यहाँ पे फिर से उसी की बात हो रही है. Okay, video is lagging. Is it with everyone? Jyotirmay, I hope your connection is okay. Guys, just let me know. Is it lagging? Is it lagging? Because ho sakta hai ki Jyotirmay, your connection might be weak. Just let me know. If anybody else is facing it, then it's an issue from my end. Quickly, guys, please. Guys, I'm waiting. बता दो किसी को अगर और हो रहा है ये. Anyone else is facing the same lagging issue? अच्छा. Better, guys? Better? Is it better or not better? बेहतर है? Okay, fine. अगर थोड़ा सा भी lag करे बोल देना, मैं restart कर दूंगी. I don't know what's wrong with the platform. So again, now we have the poet alludes to King Ahaz. Okay, so now he's again talking about idol worship, not talking about King Ahaz, a weak and foolish ruler of Judah, who, after being defeated by the Syrians, abandoned the altar of true God and replaced it with one modeled after Syrian design. This act of spiritual treason, okay, this act of spiritual treason, as in you're betraying God, you are worshipping everyone but the true God. So, this act of spiritual treason, displacing God's altar in favor of an idol, demonstrates how Rimmon seduced Ahaz into worshipping the very gods of the nation that had conquered him. Milton emphasizes the irony and self destructive nature of idolatry. He's like that it is self destructive because, in a way, you are not praying to the real one, you're praying to everyone else that is a false god, and they are part of the Satan's team. So, showing how it led Israel's kings away from the faith and ultimately into humiliation and downfall. This is the reason, as per the holy books across the globe, and this is how Israel had its downfall. Okay. Okay. Israel is considered to be one of the most intelligent races that the world has. Look at Zuckerberg, look at any so many. I think most of the most important thing, the world banks and everything, it's been governed by Israel Jews only, right? तो ये वाली चीज बहुत ही एक important element है. In these lines, okay, so after these appeared a crew who under names of old renown, and then it comes to priest turns atheist, as did Ellis. Okay. Oh God. एक second. मैं just एक phone करती हूँ. Just a second, guys. The internet भी सही है, सब कुछ सही मेरे end से. क्या reason हो सकता? मेरी भी चल रही है, मेरी चल रही है, लेकिन मेरा बच्चे कंप्लेन कर रहे हैं कि लैग बहुत कर रहा है. कितने बच्चे अप्रोक्सीमेट कर रहे हैं? 6-7 बच्चे कर रहे हैं. तो काम कीजिए, आप क्लास ले लीजिए, मैं भी फिर वो रिकॉर्डिंग में देख लें, कुछ इशू आता है तो फिर मैं टेक्निकल टीम को बोल देता हूँ. ठीक है, आप प्लीज भाई टेक्निकल टीम को दिखा दो, क्योंकि ऐसा क्यों होता है कि मेरा जो है लैग करता है इतना ज्यादा, क्योंकि मेरा इंटरनेट सही है, सब कुछ सही है. आप एक बार प्लीज दिखा लेना, ठीक है? ओके, थैंक यू. All right. Hi, guys. Can you guys see me? Just a second. Give me 1 minute, please. All right. Moving ahead. After these appeared, Abhi behtar hai, a crew who under names of old renown, and comes to this one. Now, in these lines from Paradise Lost, Milton describes a group of false gods and the corrupting influence, starting with Egyptian deities, Osiris, Isis, and Horus. Okay, again, false gods continues. Oh, goodness. Just a second. अभी बेहतर है. God, I really hate this when my class gets disturbed. Is it better now? So disappointed. Okay, thank goodness. Let's move ahead. So these gods worshipped in Egypt were, अगर अभी होगा ना तो फिर मैं क्लास करूंगी, ठीक है, अगर हुआ तो, in case, because ये बार बार हो रहा है. चलो. These gods worshipped in Egypt were represented in monstrous and animalistic forms, was with rituals and sorcery. In a way देखा जाए book 1 का later part पूरा idol worship के condemn ही कर रहा है और कुछ कर ही नहीं रहा है. So now Milton critiques their worship as delusional, noting how even the priest of Egypt succumbs to these wandering gods. क्या हाईलाइट करता है? He highlights that the Israelites were not immune to this idolatry, referencing the construction of the golden calf at Mount Oreb. तो कहता है कि इन लोगों को सिखाया तो गया तबले, but they were not immune. मतलब there was a window wherein they could easily get out and get into idol worship. Okay, so using borrowed gold, a sin that likened the creator to mere organ or grazing ox. This sin was later repeated by Jeroboam, the rebel king of Israel, who set up golden calves in Bethel, and Dan committing a similar act of idolatry, similar act of idol worship. Okay, so again, Jews के बारे में condemn कर रहे हैं कि इन लोग ने गलत किया. Then you have Milton then contrasts these deities with Jehovah, the true God of Israel, and who demonstrated Jehovah, उनको जो true God of Israel उनको बोला जाता है, he demonstrated his power. जैसे सबके अपने अपने नेम होते हैं, right? We have someone, Christians gods कहते हैं, इस्लाम में अल्लाह कहते हैं, Jehovah कहते हैं, Jews में. The true God of Israel, Jehovah, who demonstrated his power during the Exodus by striking down both Egypt's firstborn and its God in a single night, symbolizing the futility of idolatry. When such kind of things, बातें होती हैं कि God did this, God, I don't know. I mean, God is not so vindictive. God is God. I mean, God has created this world. I don't know. I mean, I literally believe that, ठीक है, सारे stories, ये सारी, anecdotes भी हैं, बातें भी हैं, God wanted this to happen and then God punished in this manner. Punishment of God, I mean, it's not like a war. But anyway, can't comment on that because, of course, I think it is. I mean, God is Rahim, God is Rahman. That is what it is. This entire idea that God is going to be vindictive and तुमने गलत काम किया, whack. No, yeah, God does not have that much time to whack you. Anyway, so this is like, anyway, we are going ahead. ये सब, one side God is considered benevolent. Even in, in other texts also, in other religious texts also, there is a very, kind of portrayed God as somebody who's kind of taking the vendetta. तुमने ये किया तो मैं ये कर दूंगा तुम्हारे साथ. God is not like that. God is definitely not like that. He's God. So, but we can't say that to the examiner. We got to say this to the examiner. So his exodus by striking down both Egypt's firstborn god in single night, symbolizing the futility of idolatry. Finally, Milton introduces Belial, the most lewd and corrupt of fallen spirits. Okay, तो सबसे ज़्यादा बेकार आए and the fallen spirits. Okay, another false god. Unlike the other gods, Belial had no dedicated temples or altars. तो ये false god कोई temple या जगह नहीं थी इसको worship करने के लिए, but he worked very sharply, very subtly, very smartly, corrupting priests like Eli's sons who defiled God's house with lust and greed. Belial's influence extended to courts, palaces, cities, where he inspired luxury, righteous behavior, moral decay. At night, his followers roamed the streets, emboldened by wine and insolence, spreading vice and chaos. तो ये जो बिलियाल था ये बहुत ही स्मार्ट था. इसने बड़े आराम से सबको बहुत ज्यादा करप्ट कर लिया. Milton uses Belial as a personification of lawlessness and depravity. कोई moral order नहीं, no law, very depravity, showing how sin infiltrated both sacred and secular spaces. So sin was pervasive everywhere. Then you have witnessed the streets of Sodom and that night. So in these lines from Paradise Lost, Milton references a collection of False gods again. Okay, so book one is all about false gods, mythological figures showing their fallen state and the influence they once had held. He begins by recalling the biblical cities of Sodom and Gibeah, infamous for their immorality and violence. All right, in Sodom, the streets bore witnesses to sin, while in Gibeah, a matron was cruelly sacrificed to protect her host from worse acts of rape, highlighting humanity's descent into depravity. Can you see the kind of the references that Milton has introduced to this literary epic has made this work so relevant. It's been 400 years, and since then, still this is being read. And in a way, it is not irrelevant. Why? Because it has taken religion into account and gone ahead. So, this literary epic creates huge importance in your learning today as well as later, because इसमें से questions आ सकते हैं और इसका क्वेश्चन ये पूछ सकते हैं कि why has it been in the canon. अगर हम लोग चाहें तो हम लोग इंडियन इंडियन एजुकेशन इसको ना रखे पैराडाइज लॉस्ट को, but this is being studied. This is a very strong part of the western canon, and hence reading it. So this becomes important. Look at the level of learning and knowledge that Milton had. Whatever that he's written over here, there is a actual truth about it. People, Anyway, so Milton then turns to the Ionian gods, the Greek deities worshipped by the descendants of Java, a son of Japheth in the Bible. These gods, though regarded as powerful, were believed to have come into existence later than heaven and earth. Again, ये लोग बड़े powerful false gods थे. So, which were considered their parents. Milton recounts the myth of Titan, heaven's firstborn, whose rule was overthrown by Saturn and later by Jove, Saturn's son with Rhea. This lineage of usurpation represents the instability and violence that was inherent in pagan myths. So paganism क्या है? वही idol worship है. Okay, so again, इसको perpetuate होता रहा बहुत ज़्यादा. These gods were first worshipped in Crete and Mount Ida, and later on Mount Olympus, which was seen as the heavenly seat. Their influence spread across the Delphian cliffs, Dodona, throughout the lands of the Dorians, as well as regions westward like Hesperian. Guys, trust me, question इसमें से आ सकता है. Comment on how paganism or idol worship has been condemned in Paradise Lost by Milton. अब हमको सब कुछ रटना नहीं है. अगर ये ओवर आर्चिंग अम्ब्रेला सॉर्ट ऑफ अ क्वेश्चन आता है, बहुत अच्छी बात है, क्योंकि हमारे पास बहुत कंटेंट है. हमको पूरा लर्न नहीं करना है. हमको नोट्स में से, आई मीन आई एम गिविंग एज एन आइडिया, गाइस कैन डू दैट, या जो पीपीटी पढ़नी है उसी को पढ़ लेना. एक लिस्ट बनाओ कि ओके दीज वर द गॉड्स, इनमें क्या क्या था, कौन कौन जगह थी, विच वर द कम्युनिटीज दैट वर वर्शिपिंग देम, चाहे वो इजराइल वाले हो गए, वट एवर इट वॉज, कौन से किंग. सो एटलीस्ट यू हैव मीटी मैटर फॉर यू टू राइट एंड इंक्लूड इन योर कंटेंट. बिकॉज अगर बुक वन से क्वेश्चन आएगा तो 2 से 3 क्वेश्चन बन सकते हैं. एक क्वेश्चन ये 100% बन सकता है, कॉमेंट ऑन the state of idol worship that has been taken into consideration by Milton. Okay, so this can come because book 1 ka later part is only this only. Okay, so Milton portrays these gods and their followers gathering in hell, their faces downcast, damp with despair. Yet, amidst their loss and humiliation, they find a faint glimmer of joy, and they locate their leader, Satan, who has not been entirely defeated. So Satan का तो defeat हुआ ही नहीं है ना. ये तो Satan चाहता था कि God को ना worship हो, false gods को worship हो. Satan, though internally shaken by their fall, quickly regains his pride and uses lofty words to rally his followers, restoring their courage and dispelling their fears. This scene emphasizes Satan, how manipulative he is, how scheming he is. He knows how to make God angry. He knows that how he will be upset. Okay? To inspire loyalty even in the faces of ultimate failure. It also reflects the delusion and false hope that drive the fallen spirit as they seek to continue the rebellion against divine authority. Okay, so this again comes as very, very important, as in the concept is still there. Then straight commands that at warlike sounds of trumpets loud and clarions be upraised, deliberate valor, breath firm and unmoved. Last line, okay? Moving ahead. So Milton vividly describes Satan rallying his fallen angels in hell. अब ये सारी बातें होगी, false gods की बातें होगी, हम लोगों को मतलब दिखाए गए कि Satan कितना powerful है. All right, अब we are coming back to Satan. So Satan is preparing them for battle against heaven. अब यहाँ पे आ गया battle की तैयारी हो रही है. Okay, अभी तक क्योंकि decide नहीं किया कि करना क्या है, तो everybody is gearing up के battle की तैयारी करो. Satan commands the loud sounds of trumpets and clarions to signal the raising of his standard. The task of unfurling the mighty flag falls to Azazel, a towering and proud fallen cherub. Okay, so एक चिरप उसको वो मतलब ही इज ऑल्सो अ पार्ट ऑफ दिस गैंग. Azazel raises the imperial ensign, a banner richly adorned with gems and gold. So you look, you know, this army is all full prepared. They have their banners with gems and gold. So it's going to be, they're declaring it's going to be a tough war for them. Gleaming like a meteor in the wind, the banner emblazoned with seraphic symbols and trophies becomes a rallying symbol of Satan's rebellion. So Satan is in full gusto to go ahead and battle against God. Sounds of trumpets fill the air, stirring the spirits of the fallen host. Okay, at the sight of this banner, the gathered legions of fallen angels respond with a deafening shout that shakes hell's very foundation. So you can imagine कितने सारे fallen angels हैं and सब unanimously चीख रहे हैं, चिल्ला रहे हैं, even terrifying the realms of chaos and old night which lie beyond hell. In an instant, the gloom of hell is illuminated as tens of thousands of banners rise into the air. All the Satans, they're rising their banner. जितना dark pit hell था, वो momentarily light up हो जाता है, displaying the vibrant colors, and a massive forest of spears, shields, and helmets appear in tightly packed formation, and they are all ready to battle against God, continue their rebellion. No spirit can deter them. The fallen angels move in unison. Okay, they all are moving together in unison, forming an immense phalanx, a highly organized and disciplined military formation. Satan's team was very disciplined. Satan was not like an indisciplined Satan. बड़ी डिसिप्लिन टीम थी उसकी, बहुत ही ट्रेन करके रखा था. एंड यू नो, सो दिस इज हाउ इट इज लैंड. मतलब अगर कुछ खराब भी करना है तो डिसिप्लिन लाना पड़ेगा खराब करने के लिए. अच्छा काम या बुरा काम बिना डिसिप्लिन के नहीं हो पाएगा. Okay, that is also another thing. So their march is accompanied by the Dorian mood of flutes and recorders, a musical mode associated with noble and heroic deeds in ancient Greek culture. This music inspires not rage but deliberate valor, a calm and unwavering courage in the face of death. It is designed to instill resolve, banishing the fear, sorrow, and doubt from the mindset of the fallen angels, whether mortal or immortal. तो अब पूरा डिजाइन स्ट्रैटेजी क्रिएट की जा रही है कि किस तरह से इसको मतलब इन लोगों को फिल करना है विद गुड करेज, मोटिवेशन. The passage highlights Satan's ability to impose order and inspire his followers, turning their despair into determination even in the depths of hell. It also reflects Milton's grand and dramatic vision of hell as a place of military discipline and misguided heroism, where the fallen angels mimic the nobility and strength of heaven in their rebellion. So, the heaven of rebellion, there's a lot of strength that is being shown over here. Okay, I think I'm coming to an end with this. So, with this, I'm coming to an end of today's lecture, guys. And this music inspires. So, over here, we are coming back. We did a very major part of book one, and that was false gods. Request all of you to please make a good answer on this. Take the notes help, of course. Take the reference. कुछ lines भी डाल लो, क्योंकि हम लोग जैसे जैसे पढ़े, क्योंकि पैराडाइज लॉ एक कहानी है, चंक्स हैं उसमें. उन चंक को फोकस करके एक अच्छे से आंसर्स बना लो. तो बाय द एंड ऑफ योर 4 बुक्स एटलीस्ट यू आर गोइंग टू हैव 4 3 12 to 15 आंसर्स रेडी, बिकॉज उन्हीं चंक्स में से क्वेश्चन आएंगे. अब जैसे पहला चंक उठा लिया कि दैट व्हाट एग्जैक्टली हाउ Satan behaved like, and then comes the false gods, and then again comes to Satan's army. Okay, so these will really help you in writing good answers little by little as we are doing. So guys, with this I'm coming to an end of today's lecture. If anyone has any questions, any answers, by Wednesday, we'll be finishing with it. And then book 2 will take some time. And then that's how we're moving forward. If anyone has any questions, all right, thank you, everyone. I'll be forwarding all the PPTs to you guys. And I'll see all my students tomorrow, right? All right. ठीक है, चलते हैं. Okay, bye.